Hey guys, it's Ms. West Social Studies class, and this is our last video on World War I. Yay! So the Central Powers, they lost. There they are, pouting like little middle schoolers. Austria-Hungary was close to collapse. The Ottoman Turks surrendered. The Germans were revolting because they were pretty much sick of dying, and so the Central Powers, they surrender. Now, on November 11th, 1918, Germany signs an armistice. Armistice is a vocabulary term. Arms are your weapons. Armistice means you put down your weapon. It's a ceasefire, an end of fighting. So they wave their little white flag. Now, World War I's over. Check out this. The death toll. 52% were German deaths for the Central Powers, 35% Austria-Hungary, Ottoman Empire 10%, and Bulgaria 3%. And then you can see for the Allied powers, it's a little bit more divided, but Russia and France definitely got the brunt of it. The United States only 2% because we entered late. The effects of World War I, 9 million soldiers are dead. 13 million civilians are dead. A civilian is someone that is not a soldier. So men, women, children, elderly people, dead. One group of people that was killed were the Armenians. The Ottomans were angry that the Armenians supported the Allied powers, so they went in and killed an entire ethnic group. We call that genocide. There's a video on the playlist done by the Great War People, that channel, that is all about Armenian genocide if you want to watch it. All right, so the peace talks after the war happened at the Palace of Versailles. Yes, we talked about the palace during the French Revolution. Everybody meets in Paris. They're going to talk about what's going to happen to the losers. The biggest winners, the people that were the most powerful, would be Woodrow Wilson of the United States, David Lloyd George of Great Britain, George Clemenceau of France, and Vittorio Orlando of Italy, right there. Though some people don't consider Italy very powerful. The losers, Germany, Bulgaria, Ottoman Empire, Austria, and Hungary. They split these into two different countries. They are not invited because the losers don't get invited to the party. So it happens. Now, Woodrow Wilson came to the Palace of Versailles with his 14 points. He had 14 things that he thought should happen after World War I that would keep the peace. Pretty much everybody ignored him. But you need to know he wrote these 14 points. 3 of the points, nationalist groups should have their own nation. Didn't happen. League of Nations, a peacekeeping organization. Sort of happened. Just wasn't effective. And last, he believed that there should be just or fair treatment towards the losing nations. The other countries, however, disagreed. They wanted Germany to pay. There were some compromises made at the Treaty of Versailles. First, countries in Europe wanted a buffer zone between Germany and them. So there would be like a little piece of land between like France and Germany so that they didn't have to share a border. They thought it would prevent future invasions. Another thing they determined was that Germany is all their fault and they would have to pay for the war. We call these reparations. This is going to destroy Germany if they have to pay for the cost of the war. There was a League of Nations set up. In the end, the United States didn't even join it, and it wasn't effective. Not every country joined the League, and if not every country is there trying to keep peace and willing to talk about things, it's not going to prevent war. And also, there's really no military, so they can't enforce anything. And then the biggest thing at the Treaty of Versailles is that they decided that Germany would have to take responsibility for the war guilt clause. They'd have to pay for the war. They'd have to give up land. They'd have to reduce their army and navy, and they'd have to get rid of their air force and all their submarines. Germany thought that this was super unfair and really harsh, and they were not happy about it. There you can see this guy. He's like, they will regret this. And he does make them regret that. The map of Europe is also redrawn. So here you can see before, after. Germany's tiny. Poland is here now. Austria, Hungary are much smaller. We've got some other little countries in here. Russia, of course, lost some land. So the map of Europe is now totally different than it was at the beginning of World War I. These are the new countries: Finland, Latvia, Estonia, Poland, Lithuania, Czechoslovakia, Austria, Hungary. Remember, it used to be Austria-Hungary. Now they're two different countries, making them a little weaker, and Yugoslavia. The problem with this is that they did not pay attention to ethnic groups. So rather than forming countries based on like nationalist groups, they just redraw the map, and this is going to cause some conflict later on. The Ottoman Empire used to take up a whole bunch of area. Now the Ottoman Empire is just this little area here, but 3 years later, Mustafa Kemal takes over Turkey and the Ottoman Empire ceases to exist. Sad. The Middle East, tons of issues. After World War I, the Balfour Declaration is issued that basically gives the area of Palestine or Israel to the Jews. Now, Arabs had already lived there for a really long time, so Arabs are now being kicked out of their land. Even though Jews live there as well, now more Jews are moving into that area. After World War II, even more Jews move into the area. And this really sets up the foundation and the beginning of the Arab-Israeli conflict that is still going on today. Way to go. In the end, America becomes suspicious of foreigners, and Europeans are very, very, very unhappy. When people are unhappy, they're willing to elect leaders that can be a little bit crazy. All right, that's all, folks. Have a good day.